Yeah.
We finished that tournament at 6 a.m.
Oh yeah, it's all finished. Nice. Oh, okay,
No,
I
it
guess.
was got the finals.
Got it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They still have the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. Yeah. So we are live now. So first of all, Kieran, welcome to the channel. I know you've been doing a ton of these. You look a little tired, but I'm glad you're taking the time out to have another one with me here and doing it live for everybody. How you
Yeah,
doing?
no worries. All good, man. Yeah, pretty good. Just crushing the Red Bulls and getting it done.
Yeah, definitely. So before we even get started, I just want to say, like, I know it was your birthday recently. You recently had a daughter. In the past year, I think it was, or a couple of years, you got married. So you had a lot of life changes over this journey with Illuvium here. So how's that going for you?
Good. it's it's good to have support. Obviously, this has been a very tumultuous ride, up and down, around, and I think life changes when you have a daughter or a son or and it's been fantastic. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. But that actually is going to lead me into my first question here. So, just to start off, we're finally here. Open beta is coming in less than 48 hours. It's been about a 3.5 year journey. Um, at any point in that 3.5 years, did you think that like we wouldn't get to the point we are now? Did you ever doubt it, or did you know we were going to get here and you did whatever it takes?
Never doubted it at all. Like with there were times where it got a little bit tough, and if we didn't raise money the last two times, theoretically we would have run out of money, right? And so, but I look at that as a challenge, not as something where it's like, oh my god, it's all over. We're not going to be able to realize the vision or whatever. Like this is too big to the potential here is just way too big, and crypto gaming in general has the potential to transform mainstream gaming. Like I genuinely believe that. If I didn't have that conviction, I wouldn't be here. And so someone is going to run that ball up, and we were lucky enough to start very early, like very early, and that opportunity in life basically only comes once if you're lucky enough that it presents itself even at all. And for someone like myself that has worked in so many different startups, and when you have worked in the positions where you think, is this too niche? Is this, are we going to run out of money? Am I going to have enough money to pay staff? When you work in that sort of an environment for several consecutive years in a row, and then you come across something like this, and you just know it's the thing that you've been waiting for your entire life presents itself. You're not letting that go. You would have to rip it from my cold, dead hands before I let this opportunity go. And so,
Yeah.
no, I've never doubted it, not once.
Yeah, and honestly, that attitude that you have is one of the reasons why I've been so bullish on Illuvium the whole time. Like you always hear like oh well, he hasn't built a game before, all that kind of stuff. You didn't have the experience, but like I've always looked at you and your brothers and like they grew up as athletes. They were competitive. He has this attitude of like I won't, like I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. I won't accept failure. So just a question on that, like what in your like childhood or your upbringing like gave you that attitude to just never quit and just get it done?
Well, I think having a professional tennis player as a dad, and it's not just that. I mean, I think the discipline that came with that sort of an upbringing, where there was an expectation that if you did something, you're going to do it right. Now, it wasn't like so pressured where it was like, "Oh, I'm going to force you to do this or you have to do that." But it was when you chose a path in life, they, our parents held us to a standard, and they had expectations that you said you wanted to do this, so go at it, go hard at it, do try the absolute most you can, and it just created a very competitive environment between the four boys growing up. I think that's another thing. Four boys is very different to say like two girls, two boys, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's you're constantly on. Anyone who I speak to that has like an all boys sort of family upbringing, they know exactly what I'm talking about when
Yeah.
I mean like you got to always be on. It's like someone's going to try and jump on top of you to push you down, so you need to be ready. And
Yeah.
you put all of those elements together, and we just don't. I don't accept that I can't do something, right? And I
Mm.
think my brothers are the exact same. And when we looked at this, we had all the elements we absolutely loved from a business perspective. I knew I could get us some money. I knew that we could do the marketing that we needed. I knew that we could do the recruitment that we needed. From a game design perspective, I knew that Aaron could go and build out the games. He's been an avid gamer. He was designing games for like 10 years. He just needed a little bit of a push to say, let's fucking do this. Let's actually do it. And from Grant's perspective, from the graphics, obviously being in that industry for 15 years and being at the top of it, same thing. So we had all of the elements, and we had this attitude of who cares if we haven't done it before. The guy who first does it has never done it before, right? So if someone else could do it, then we can do it. And so, failure was just never an option,
Yeah. No, and I totally get that. I grew up with two brothers,
man.
uh, and in a similar situation with you. Now I have one daughter, so now I got to figure out how to raise a girl. And when I was so used to boys, but yeah, great to hear that. So another thing that I've seen, just online is that a great, uh, a project or company is it's going to show that it's great if the CEO or co-founders ever left the project and it was able to continue on and strive without them. So do you think, not, I hope this isn't in your plans at all, but if you or Aaron or the top core contributors were to leave Illuvium, would Illuvium continue on and strive and still be what it's going to be?
Illuvium is where it is today because of the team, right? And I don't mean Aaron and myself and Grant and whatever. The best thing that we did, or the thing that I am so proud of, is how we were able to form such an unstoppable team. That, I mean, you would know now. You're working with us part time. The attitude that we have created inside of this project, or I sometimes go to say company, but it's not, right. It's a DAO. Is like nothing I've ever experienced in my entire life, right? Like no one goes out and says, "Hey, you're gonna have to work this weekend." If there's work to be done, they go, I'm in. And you know what? Because it's infectious. Other people are doing it. So you see those people and you're like, well, I have to do that. And it's created this culture where it's phenomenal, right? Where I legitimately have to go out and say to people, stop working as hard as you are because you're heading over a cliff. Like, I love you for it. We can see your passion. We appreciate it like no other, but I've got to almost save them from them, sometimes. And then there are others that are really good at controlling how much they work and making sure that they take a break before they get burnout and whatever. But that is probably what I'm most proud about. And so when we boil that back down to what would happen if some of the founders left. You look, Grant leaving, and the art department has never been in a better place. With Roger stepping up, he has been here since day dot. We literally got Roger like 2 weeks after we got Grant, and he understands the vision. He understands where he wants to take the art department. He's incredibly good at what he does, and I would argue that we're in a better place. So and I think that would be the case for any of us, right? Like it's something that I don't think would leave the project, is this willingness to go hard because the guy next to you is doing it. It's like dead set being in the trenches, where it's like, if he's doing it, I'm doing it, and it just creates this crazy aura, which like obviously I've worked in startups where you've got to do crazy hours, to the point where like multiple 24-hour stints in a week, but you don't feel good about it, right? Like, whereas in Illuvium, you're kind of like, yeah, let's do this. And that's why I say I've got to sort of like save them from themselves, because they're loving it. They're
Yeah.
loving running straight off a cliff, and it's like, whoa, like
No, I've
don't.
noticed that too. Like I'm to the point where I'm like, I go to my day job, I still have it. I'm just like dreading it. I'm like, let me get out of here. But
Mm,
then it'll be like 11 o'clock at night for me, and TSG will be like, hey, let's look at this dashboard. Or I'm like, yeah, let's go.
yeah,
Let's figure it out.
yeah.
Let's get it done. Yeah, and just being internal in the last like internal team call for last month, you were calling out all the people who have been there for 3+ years, and it really like opened my eyes to like these people have been through it all, through the whole bear market. They're still here. We're
Mhm.
finally to this point. Like it speaks a lot to the culture that you have there, inside Illuvium.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a fun ride so far. All right, so moving on, what do I have here? Okay, so this was a comment from some troll that I have on Twitter, but I told him I would ask this question, so I'm bringing it up. So he just says, "Why is Illuvium so boring?" And claims that it'll never attract non-crypto gamers. So I'm just throwing it out there to say that there are people who he's obviously never played this game. Looking from the outside in, he just hates it because it's crypto, and he's just one of those trolls.
Mhm.
But how are you going to get the people who don't like crypto gaming into Illuvium? And just kind of on top of that, is there going to be like two different styles of marketing where you market one way to the non-crypto gamers there, and then a different way to the people who are already involved in crypto?
So I yes, and that's always been the plan. When we went out with Liquid, we weren't broadcasting all over the place that we're a crypto game, and go get your wallet, and if you play our game you're going to get rich, all of that kind of stuff. And so I see Gauntlet and Arena in general as a way for us to bridge that gap between mainstream and blockchain. So I think if we had have had Gauntlet when we went out to Team Liquid and we had all those pros that were playing, there would be a huge amount of people that are not only still playing but recommending it to friends, which is that word of mouth is how we're going to get to mainstream masses, right? Like we need to get to the core people that are uh, that are being viewed by thousands and thousands of these mainstream people. Get to them and show them, we know you hate it. We hated it, right? Like this is the thing where you've got to sort of show some humility, and it's realism, right? Like it's actually real. Like when I first found this space, all three of us, like I had to convince Grant that it wasn't all a scam. He was like, what do you mean? Like, are you going to scam someone? I was like, what? I'm going to scam someone. What are you talking about? And he's like, but all of crypto is a scam. And I was like, well, number one, your older brother is in crypto and, you know, he's not scamming anyone. There's multiple different technologies that are being built here that aren't scams. And it was like a 2 week situation where I was trying to convince him that this isn't a scam. Now, if I was to forget those conversations, like Dimitri was the same thing, weeks to convince that guy. And now you look at him and he's like, oh, how could you not, right? And it's very easy to forget where you came from. And that's what I'm trying to get through to people internally in our team. When you're interacting with a community that has not seen any quality games come from crypto gaming, and there's so much skepticism there. They see NFT projects that raise hundreds of millions of dollars and say they're going to go build the next big metaverse or gaming universe, and nothing ever happens. Of course people are going to be skeptical. Of course they're going to question it. Like, why would we be any different? And so when I get comments like that, obviously it's going to frustrate you. You're like, you're a troll. Like, but are they a troll, or are they're just ill informed of, hey, there actually is a good game out there. It sounds like that guy hasn't played it, or maybe he played Illuvium 2 years ago when it was boring. So in that case, he's not even lying. He's like, I played it, it was boring. I agree with that. He's saying it's crypto, that's a scam, or that's bullshit. It's a money making scheme, all of that kind of stuff. I get that. Every single game was back 4 years ago. So you've got to be tactical at the way that you speak to these people and show them, like, we thought all of those things that you do. Trust me. But this is a little bit different. Give it another chance. That's it. Just a soft touch. And if that happens millions of times between people who are converted, if you will, and have seen, like, wow, this is actually a really good game that I would play and I would recommend to a friend, that's when we start getting mainstream adoption.
Yeah, yeah, and I finally noticed that for myself just over the past couple months. Testing out Gauntlet and the testnet, because like a year ago, yeah, I was playing too, and I was just like, well, I'm playing. I'm gonna make some content, hope it improves. But like the testnet, I was hooked on the testnet, and I wasn't even focusing on the points. I was just out there like being like, how can I grind and just
Mm,
get a little step up each time. And then testing out Gauntlet like last week, I was playing till 2 in the morning, and I was just like, I just want to get in some more
mm,
games. Like, this is fun.
mm.
But speaking of Gauntlet, and you mentioned Team Liquid, has the team reached out to Team Liquid to try Gauntlet yet? And did you get any their thoughts on the mode?
Yeah, so I believe it was Broxa, I want to say. Let me just quickly go. Da, 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 da. We went out to one of them, Snooty Boo. And yeah, let's just say he said some really really nice things about it, but it's pretty obvious, right? Like, we built it. It's super similar to TFT. It's just better graphics. You can zoom into the characters. You can get different camera angles. Uh, there is going to be the added Ranger, which is going to make it unique to Illuvium. It's going to open up those composite synergies a little bit more, so you see like even crazier stuff and more action in the battles. But like, without a doubt, I guarantee you, people who play TFT that pick up Gauntlet will be like, this is fun. If they don't, then it's that I don't want to play a crypto game. But if you were there playing TFT in set 1, 2, and 3, it's the exact same thing, and it's just different graphics, different creatures, a cooler looking battle board. And I'm not even saying we're going to go out and beat TFT, not yet anyway, right? I think we have at least 12 to 18 months of building out Gauntlet putting our own unique touches on it before we can actually get to that stage. But am I confident that we can get like 10% market share from them? 100%. I genuinely, that is the goal, to try and get that level from them over the next like 2 years. And we've got the game to do it now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, in Gauntlet in itself, like that mode is, you could almost argue that it's not a crypto game, right? Because anyone could just come in for free. Probably don't even
Mm-hmm.
need to, you don't need to pay anything. You just come in and play. And then is that going to be like the onboarding tool? Like get them to play Gauntlet, like it, learn the characters, and then be like, "Ooh, I want to go jump into some other part of Illuvium."
It's going to be multiple. So, I mean, one thing that does worry me a little bit is the overworld, the experience of free to play. It it yeah, it is a bridge, and you can get in and start capturing the tier zeros. You can explore the regions, but if you're a true creature capturer fan, you're gonna want to taste a little bit more. I think before you're like, okay, I'll actually start spending a ton of money, right? So that does worry me a little bit in terms of getting mainstream adoption through that game, but mainstream adoption certainly from Arena is like the most accessible option that we have. But then I think a battle royale, that doesn't need to be something like, we can have so much premium content that is free inside of that battle royale. It might just be that we have more cosmetic effects, different skins that open up if you own the alluvial, but nothing that actually is required in order to play that game. And all that we're trying to do is make the overworld the core game where people spend money, and any additional game that we have on top of that is an onboarding tool to get people to say, well, I don't want to have to, I don't want to not have these cool aspects in all of these other games, or access to these cool carts in a Mario type racer game. And so it all stems back to getting more people into the overworld. And as long as there's demand from all these other different experiences, then we'll be sweet. So yeah, but it's still early days, and we saw what can happen with a crypto game in terms of revenue generation, uh, just with the people that are adopted with crypto, right? Like hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue per month can be made from a game that has adoption just purely inside this crypto bubble. So the goal for us is to basically generate enough revenue, or that we can go out and do this massive capital raise, or generate enough revenue that we don't even need to do a capital raise. And at that point, we can build out all of these other games over the next 10 years. And it's going to be a universe like no one has ever seen.
Awesome. So I have a question from somebody who, like, of the perspective of mine. Like I've never been a big cosmetic person in games. Like I think I have this. I try to do this weird flex of like, let me be the person who wins without all the fancy cosmetics. Um, so what would you say for someone like me who's like willing to go in and pay some money to play this game, but I don't really have that interest in the cosmetics? Like, what would be my path, or Illuvium's path, to get someone like me to spend in the game?
Tournaments. It sounds like you're more of
Competitive,
a
yeah.
competitor. So, you spend $10 on an entry fee into a tournament with a prize pool of, $10,000, something like that. That's a revenue stream that we haven't activated yet, but certainly, you know, something that we will in the future.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question I have here is, um, so will the full like game economy loop for Illuvium be, ready to go and starting right on day one? Just in a couple days, and then can you kind of walk us through what that loop looks like? So you're someone who's watching this for the first time. You're seeing Illuvium. What does that the game loop look like?
So first of all, here's a little bit of a leak for you. We're about 99% sure we're going to release Illuvium Zero 24 hours early.
That's in like, what is that, 15, 16 hours from now?
Something like that, maybe
7?
20 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, no, actually it is. Sorry, I've barely had any sleep. Now I say 99% sure because the last time that I spoke to Jeremy was about 10 hours ago. Obviously, things can change, but
Yeah.
yeah, the plan is for us to go early, give a little bit of a boost to the Illuvium Zero players so they can start generating fuel as soon as possible, and yeah, so that's really cool. But yeah, the whole loop will be ready where you can go from Illuvium Zero, generate your fuel, either use that yourself or sell it to someone else. Go into the overworld, spend a little bit of money to travel, capture an alluvial after you cure your shards, get three of the same one, fuse them together to make the stage two more powerful version of it. Then go into arena. There's going to be I don't know. The intention was to have the cosmetic shop available, but I'm not 100% sure it is going to be ready for go live. But you could technically go in, buy yourself a skin, use that in arena, and yeah, the whole loop is going to be available. And then obviously that ties into the revenue distributions where any of that ETH that we generate is going to buy ILV off the market, then distribute that ILV back to people who are staked in the protocol, and then we start all again. And it just keeps on going around and around.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited for that. I'm going to skip around a little bit since you just kind of mentioned that. So right before I hopped on here in the Discord, I was seeing some things coming up about you got to migrate your land to IMX Passport. So what's going on with that, and what do people need to do to be prepared and like ready to go for tomorrow or the following day? Do they need to have like their ETH and everything in the IMX wallet? Do they need to move their land from their, say they have it on a hardware wallet? Do they need to move it from
Mm-hmm.
there to IMX?
Yes, yeah, you will need to do that. We are working on a secondary wallet functionality, which will allow you to use like a cold storage or whatever. It's there. We ran into a couple of issues with IMX with that, so they're building something that we're going to utilize, which should be available. It was meant to be ready for launch, so I'm hoping only a week or two after launch, but yeah, that will be required. But we will have a blog post out very very soon. Now that the website's back up, we'll have that how to get started in Illuvium and that will cover everything from landholders to overworld to arena, the fuel exchange, the marketplace. Everything that you need to know will be in that blog.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll definitely look forward to seeing that. But just one other question on that. So when you do transfer your land, like say this wallet thing gets worked out in a couple weeks, people want to transfer it back to like their ledger. Is all of their progress going to transfer with it, or are they going to lose anything as they make that transfer?
No, they won't lose any. It's basically just reading the wallet, right? So the in-game progress will stay exactly the same.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. Let's see what I have here for questions. All right, so here's another question for you. So over the past, couple of years, from the first iterations, obviously things have changed a lot as things go on. I've noticed that the game is getting more and more simple over time, which I think is great for onboarding new people. Bringing new people in and without them getting all frustrated in trying to leave. But there are definitely some people who really like the complexity that Illuvium had in the past, and now it's getting more to that more simple. Is there still complexities in there for those like diehard gamers that really want to like dig into it? And just for example, I'm thinking like starting with Ascendant where you need to build your own team, going to Gauntlet where everything's kind of there for you, and then the whole idea of there used to be dominant affinities for alluvials, and now it's just all
Hmm.
alluvials have the same. Um, and then the way you craft, like you used to have to craft augments, and now augments, there's no crafting of augments and equipment. Everything seems to be moving to the path of making it more simple. So what's the idea behind that, and what complexities are there still in Illuvium that people can look forward to?
Onboarding, right? Like people don't want to play. I mean, when I say people, I mean the vast majority of gamers want an easy onboarding experience, right? Like as soon as you start making it complicated for no reason, and that's where it gets frustrating for me is when we made a lot of decisions where from a gamer looking in, you just think that was so complex for no reason. Like two places where you need to go in order to in the overworld in order to craft things and put things into your inventory. It's like why? Like what's why is that the case? Like just go to one. Things like the composites where they were dominant and instead of just if that alluvial has earth affinity, it's just always got that affinity. You don't need to think, oh, when I bond it to this ranger it's going to lose that. Like it's too much,
Yeah,
and there's no reason. And as soon as we've taken all of these things out of the different game modes, people are like, wow, this is a lot more fun. Because
yeah,
yes, there are some people out there that are like, I want this to be as nitty gritty like chess as possible.
yeah,
That doesn't appeal to the masses. And if we're going to be successful, we first need to appeal to the masses. And that's when we can have different game modes. Where if we want to introduce something that has a huge amount of complexity, you take the simple version that everyone loves and plays, and then you make a complex version which has a whole bunch of stuff where people need to learn and maybe you do that. I still don't think you do, but if we were to do it any way, you go with the simple appealing version first and then make the complex version. And the people who like that, maybe you get take up and it's unique in its own way and people play it, but you're not hurting the potential of the casual gamer who doesn't want to spend 500 hours learning the game. They just want to quickly start seeing progress without needing to watch a 2 hour YouTube on something or, read a 400-page manual. They just want to get in, start having fun, and as soon as you achieve that, that's when you're going to get people saying, hey, oh my God, I started playing this game. It's awesome fun. If they know, if you went through 2 hours of learning how to play a game, you're probably not going to recommend that to your friends, right? Because you're like, well, I got through that, but I'm going to look like a bit of an idiot if I recommend that to someone else. If I'm not there, there's just no chance. They're going to be like, what the hell? This is the most complex, convoluted game I've ever played. Like,
yeah.
it could be way simpler. Like, I'm just going to leave this. So it has networking effects, and just making it simple is the way to go.
Yeah, no, like I mean, personally, I like the dominant affinities because it almost makes it so there's like double the amount of alluvials. Because like, all right, I want to get an Earth
There's
Malura,
already
but I also need to go
200.
get. I want
There's already
400 to go for it,
200. You don't,
and
you
then
don't.
and then
Okay,
600 with
so
all the hollows too. I want them all. I want to get
you,
the Earth Malura. I want to get the Nature Malura. I want to get the Hollow, the Dark Hollow. You know, I'm definitely going to be one of those collectors. But I also want to play Gauntlet. I don't even know how I'm going to, go about this on day one. Plus,
mhm,
being part time working with Illuvium, I don't know how I'm going to fit it all in. But
mm.
I want to get a piece of all of it. Uh, yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, so I know that there's a chat has been going on a lot. I got a couple more questions, and then I'm going to go right to the chat to answer some of your questions. And I also have a bunch of community questions that I have on, marked over here too. So
No
let's see.
worries.
Um, So I was watching or I was listening to your spaces, with Mavia that you had yesterday, and then towards the end of that, you started talking about the idea of like scholarships. We don't want to call them scholarships, but that's always been a little part of me because that was my introduction into Web3 gaming with Axie Infinity. And you said you don't want to sugarcoat it, and I just want you to expand a little bit more on where you see the whole kind of like lending thing working with Illuvium, and maybe outside of land, because we've heard that with land that it'll be possible moving forward. But what about the idea of like, say, a guild wants to fund some players to go out in the overworld, mine resources, catch alluvials, play in tournaments, but those players don't have the funds to do it themselves. Like, do you see an easy way for that guild to fund them and maybe split the resources that they get from
Mhm.
those runs?
Yeah, and that fundamentally is giving someone a job, right? Like as much as people don't like to hear it, like that's why the whole like, oh, it's a scholarship, like work for free type thing. Like it's not that. These people are getting paid to work for you. In terms of Illuvium Zero, you're farming my crops. Like if you think of it as like a digital version of a city complex that is generating resources, you have all these workers that go into the mills, they go into the hardware stations, and they build shit for you, and you pay them for that, right? And that's a job. And so the functionality, whatever you want to call it, I like doesn't worry me, but the functionality definitely can exist, and I don't know how long it can exist for in terms of economies inside of Web3 games, but for now, it definitely exists in Overworld. You're going to have situations where there are people that are time poor and they want to go and pay hundreds of people to go out and do overworld runs for them. And for that, they're going to say, okay, here's my rate. I'll do it for $3 an hour or $10 an hour or $50 an hour, whatever it is. And they work out an agreement. And for us, it's just about building the technology to facilitate that and allow someone to pull back their resources if they need to. Don't, have permissions on that wallet, so they're not allowed to sell fuel, or they can't like go and fuse a bunch of alluvials that you don't want fused. All of that kind of stuff are done on the permission side, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, is that something that's being worked on at the moment, or something that could be coming in the future?
We're
Um,
not doing it, but it's a third party integration that's doing it.
okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And that kind of brings up another question with the whole fuel exchange. So recently, we heard that fuel has gone off chain. So basically, that means you can't really transfer it anymore, right? Once it goes into your overworld account, it's kind of stuck there. So it couldn't be like if I was farming a bunch on my Illuvium Zero plot and then I pulled it all into my overworld account and I was just like, I have too much here. I can't, just send it over to a friend or a scholar or anybody. It's kind of like stuck there. Are there any plans for fuel to go like back on chain, or do you see this is just how it's going to be?
We can go on chain at any time, so it's way less risky to go off chain to on chain. And those features that you're talking about, being able to transfer someone land, fuel for their land plot, or for overworld runs or whatever, that's absolutely going to be possible in the future. Just not on Go Live.
Awesome. Okay, one more question here, and then I'm going to get to some community questions. Um, the next question here is just what's next after open beta? What is the a good portion of the team going to start moving or like working on a different part of the project? Are we going to see some IIPs for the next big title for Illuvium? I know you've talked plenty of time that a lot of people are taking getting some rest and getting away from Illuvium for the next couple weeks. But after that, once things kick back into gear, like what's the plan? What's the next big thing that us
Mhm.
community members can look forward to?
There's so many good things, and it's across all games. It just uh, the question is not what features are we going to build, because I'll go through them, but I've said it many times. There's a ton of stuff coming for every single game that we have, and potentially a new game. It's how hard we can go at that, right? And it all depends on the revenue that we're generating. If revenue is coming in, really nicely, and things are looking super positive, then we'll be able to get things done a little bit faster. But essentially, Illuvium Zero has a bunch of new features. The first one will be introducing mega cities, then finalizing blueprints, then also adding the training gyms, and a bunch of other stuff where we're basically making it more competitive. So, like, potentially having alluvials that are like defending your base and that can go and raid other bases and other land plots. We don't have we don't know exactly how those features are going to work, but we've got a new game designer that's had about 10 years of mobile game design experience. He's coming in to be dedicated to Illuvium Zero, and I'm going to be working a lot closer with the new product owner that we still need to announce, actually, for Illuvium Zero. And we're going to make sure that Illuvium Zero is a really fun game. That's 100%. For Overworld, we've got multiplayer. We've got the potential of bigger boss raids where you go in and take down a Leviathan. We have the story NPCs where you go and fight an NPC, and he'll give you a mission to go out and collect something for him. You come back, and then you end up battling him. He gives you an item, like that type of like MMO RPG type quest system. Alluvial combat will be going in. Obviously, we've already got a proof of concept of that. We'll be building out a trailer for that very soon as well. So that's coming to the overworld, and they're the three main things for overworld. For arena, all of our focus is going to go on Gauntlet, and then as soon as we've gotten Gauntlet into a really good state, that's when we'll start working on the 1v1 mode, and see if we can revive that with some learnings that we've had from Gauntlet, and potentially remove the team builder and stuff like that. So lots of stuff happening, and then on top of that, again, depending on revenue, we'll start building our fourth game.
Awesome. And we got Beyond Wave 3 coming soon, right? I think I heard
Mm-hmm.
September's is the aim for that.
September, October, yep.
Is there anything being worked on for Beyond to give more utility to those to all the Illuvatars, card game or anything like that we might be
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to?
Not a card game yet, but we've certainly overhauled albums and the collection rewards that you get. There's a whole bunch of unlocks in terms of like battle boards and skins and cosmetics
Yeah.
that you'll see for Wave 3, which makes it really awesome. On top of that, I haven't thought too much about it, but just one small win that we can give to Beyond players is adding the functionality that people have when they own an alluvial. If you own that alluvatar, when you're playing Gauntlet, you'll get that same cosmetic aura over your creatures. It's an easy win. I see no reason why we wouldn't do that. People have spent a lot of money on Beyond, and maybe in the future that cosmetic is different, and you can select. You basically plug in which one you want to use. Do you want to use your
Yeah.
alluvial aura? Do you want to use your alluvitar aura?
Yeah.
And maybe anything else in the future as well. But I really, really I see a future where it's a new way of creating skins instead of selling them just plain out in a shop, and that being the main supply. And obviously, we've got a cool way of doing it already with Illuvium Zero and blueprints,
Mhm.
and being able to manufacture them and craft them. But there's something in this idea that if I hold an alluvial, it turns into a cosmetic, right? It
Yeah.
makes it so when someone is playing a game, whether it be that kart racer or a battle royale or whatever it is, if I see that someone has uh, some sort of special cosmetic to inside the game, whether it's on their drone or their ranger or their creatures or whatever, I'm going to look into that and say, why? How does he have that? And if the idea is that they're storing it in their wallet and they have this either an alluvial or an alluvitar, and instead of it being like a 1995 skin that I buy, it's literally, oh wow, I can go and buy that. Call it an atlas, a tier one alluvial, very very common, and it's 8 cents to
Mhm.
buy. Like
Yeah.
there's something in that. Then I'm like, okay, this is kind of crazy. I'm going to buy all of the tier ones because I know if I buy all the tier ones, it might cost me, $5. So then I've got like 30 skins for $5. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is how I buy skins now. Like there's, or
Yeah.
at least if not skins, cosmetics. And so I
Yeah.
definitely want to go a little bit further down that rabbit hole to see like, uh, you know, what distinction do we make between like a skin that a raw skin that is crafted or bought versus these like ownership cosmetics, if you will. And I think
Yeah.
that is going to create massive amounts of demand. And it's also really cool. You don't buy skins off the developers; you buy them off players. And I think that
Yeah.
could very quickly become the norm inside of gaming.
Yeah, and one thing that I just don't think gets talked about enough is that say that one person does go out spend that $5 to get all of those tier one alluvials. Well, it's not like that $5 is just gone. Like now you're holding $5 worth of alluvials.
Hmm.
So if there's any
Hmm.
point where you're just like, I don't want these anymore, I want to upgrade them, you can just sell them back. So it's not like you're throwing away $5. That's why I feel like myself and a lot of people in this community are going to be willing to spend so much more because it's not just going into a sink. Like you're getting value back
Hmm.
from the time and the money that you're putting into this game.
Yeah.
That's been the whole bull case for me with Web3 gaming.
Hmm. Hmm. It just needs to be packaged in a really good, fun gaming experience. Once you add those two together, which I still don't think we're there yet. I still don't think that there is a single game out there that's live that has done both the crypto elements and the like fun game elements well to the point where people the closest that we've gotten, and I think obviously they're still in a very early stage. I think they're still in beta. Is parallel in being able
Mhm.
to get Hearthstone players to come across, and you see it all the time in comments where they're like, well, I get to own these cards. Like it's not a not it's just different thinking compared to normal gaming, but you need a really really good game.
Awesome. All right, so throw some questions in the comments here. While I'm waiting for a good one to come up, I'm just gonna plug myself in here real quick. There's this alliance program that Kieran put out an IIP for that passed. So my creator code is gonna be Nijafe. So throw it into your account. Don't use
Oh
port
yeah,
one.
we're live with that.
Yeah, that was
I've
something
actually
that
got to
just
sign
popped up
up.
before here. Yeah. So Nijafe, not pork lamb, Nijafe. Between YouTube and X here, we have almost 900 people watching. So this is great. Yeah. So
So
use that. Go ahead.
yeah, let's definitely plug that. So illuvidex.illuvium.io/alliance-hub, and you can go and sign up. All you need is 500 followers on any of the different platforms out there, and you can start earning up to 17.5% of commissions on all sales that come through you. It's pretty crazy, that program. When you consider that Fortnite only gives 5% and we're giving up to 17.5,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
No, I mean this is great. I mean, if you 500 followers, I don't think is that much. A lot of people are going to be able to qualify for that, and then
Mm,
you just get a bunch of your friends and family, and you're in good shape already.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, so let's see. I'm going to scroll up through some questions here. Will Illuvium Zero come out earlier? So that what we did talk about that a little earlier. Earlier in this show is a possibility it could come out, as soon as 24 hours before launch. But I guess we're going to wait on that. Wait for a notification, right? We'll see that in the
Yeah,
announcements.
I'm hoping that there'll be, yeah, look out on announcements, but I'm hoping that it'll be out 24 hours before.
Awesome. So for this question, if they buy land before launch, does it come with a fuel crate? No, it doesn't. But my question to you, Kieran, is there any more fuel crates coming for Illuvium? Because I remember after the first one, I think there was talks about another one coming at some point. Are we getting that, or are we just that one and done for the fuel crates?
The intention was always two drops. I think it's definitely possible in the future for us to do another one, without a doubt.
Awesome. Let's see. So I had a question here from Excelis. He want to know more about the reroll feature that could be coming. I know you mentioned it. It could be something that comes to Illuvium Zero, so that players might have to find an Illuvium Zero player and pay them to reroll alluvial stats. But on top of that, when you reroll stats, will it always improve the stats, or could you get worse stats?
I actually haven't tested the reroll feature, and that is something that I don't know. But I would hope that it just randomizes the stats and it's not guaranteed to make them better. I don't think that really makes sense. And
Yeah, and
certainly,
you just keep
uh,
re-rolling it until you get it perfect.
yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense. I think it's you get a chance, you run the risk,
Yeah,
and whatever you get is what you get.
makes sense. So the Wanderer asks, what is the plan to keep free to play zero players after the airdrop phase? After that 6 months of the missions for airdrops, what's the plan to keep them playing?
Turn it into a good game. We need to turn it into. I mean, for the most part, Illuvium Zero right now is going to be fun to play because people are generating fuel and blueprints, and those are very valuable. They can sell them to other players. That's the fun component of Illuvium Zero. Now we need to step back and say, okay, let's imagine we didn't have those and we were making a standalone mobile game. How do we make that fun? And how do we give those new players a little taste of the economy without breaking it? Obviously, that's the most important thing. But how do we give them a little taste so they think, well, I'm just going to go and buy a land plot now because I'm getting a tiny little bit of either, some small amount of blueprints or fuel is a very tough one. We're discussing it at the moment, like how could we make it accessible in some way without ruining the economy. And as soon as you give someone the ability to generate fuel for free, you do that. So we need to think about that a little bit more. And maybe it's just not possible, but we're definitely discussing something like that with the intention to be that you go from saying like I see the potential now, and obviously, it's piqued my interest. Now I'm going to go from free to I'm buying someone's land plot, and we can start really working on those land plot prices for the people that bought 2 3 years ago.
Yeah, and if you've seen how quick the team put together Gauntlet, I feel like if there's a 6 month window for something to be built with Illuvium Zero with the new hire that you have coming on, uh, like I'm hoping we see something really good come out because
We'll get it
I'm
going.
big
Don't
on
worry.
Illuvium land. I got 5 plots myself. I'm really hyped for the land, and I want to see it turn into something more, have some competitive nature to it too.
Hmm.
All right. So, a quick question here. Mosine asks, why can't we purchase credits on a PC and Mac? Why does it have to be an in-game purchase on mobile?
It's functionality that we need to. It's different payment providers. There's just a bunch of other stuff that we need to do there in order to allow that. So the focus has just been. It's a lot easier once you get approved on the app stores. All of that functionality is built in, so it's much easier for us to go live with the app stores. But it's definitely functionality in the future that we will have.
Awesome. The Wanderer asks, how long before new regions get unlocked once we start playing the overworld? Um, and then when can we expect that fourth region? And I think it's going to be Taiaga Boreal, correct?
Mm. That's the golden question. How long? You'll have to get in there and play and start unlocking them. There is no answer that I can give you for that. But
And everybody has the same unlock, right? Like I don't need to unlock a land.
mhm,
So once somebody out there in the game unlocks it, I have access to it.
you sure do. And if it is you, you'll get your own special NFT to say that you unlocked it.
Awesome. And so just along those lines too, like when you catch an alluvial, there'll be like a number on it, correct? So like if I go out and I catch the first ramfire, my ramfire NFT is going to show that it's the first ramfire I ever caught, right?
Correct. Yep.
It's going to be good. It's the rush. It's going to be the rush on day one. Who can go out and
Yeah.
catch these right away? Because somebody's going to catch what over 200, or really you add in the hollows and dark hollows. Like somebody's going to have that first of like 600 different NFTs. It's going to be crazy. I
Yeah.
hope I get one of them, and that'll be one where I get it and I hold on to it forever.
hmm And then think about it, right? If you get that Dark Hollow Ramfire, you're lucky enough to capture it, and it's the first one, and you pull mediocre stats. And then let's say the only way to increase that Ramfire's stats is by going to a landholder and saying, "Hey, here, take my Ramfire and please boost up its stats, and then give it back to me so it's worth even more." That's when you start getting some really cool utility to land plots.
Can't wait. Um, all right, so there is going to be like a for Gauntlet mode. I heard you talk about a Leviathan mode for Gauntlet. Is that correct?
hmm
Or okay. So what's going to be the difference between the regular Gauntlet and the Leviathan Gauntlet?
When you say the regular gauntlet, do you
Yeah.
mean ascendant gauntlet? Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
ascendant Leviathan.
Uh, I don't know. So the Gauntlet that everyone's playing right now, is there going to
Yeah.
be a Leviathan Gauntlet?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what makes it a Leviathan Gauntlet? Because you still don't need to own the Alluvials because you get the whole
Mm.
deck there, right? So what's the difference
So
between those two?
So right now the stats are normalized in when you play Gauntlet. It doesn't matter. Like you're not bringing in you're technically not bringing in your NFTs. The only thing that the game will do is read your wallet, and if you have a certain NFT in your wallet and you pull that card and you end up playing that card, it will have that special aura. However, when you have in the Leviathan mode, it will use the stats of the alluvial that you have, right? So
So
if you
more of a
go out
reason
and
to
have,
re-roll and get better stats.
yeah, you want to get perfect stat alluvials, because not only is it do you have an advantage if you own the alluvial, but you got the higher the stats, the more power you're going to do, the more power you're going to have, and the easier it's going to be to beat your opponent.
Yeah, that's going to be the mode I'm playing. I know I don't have that raw talent enough to just play with normalized stats, so I'm going to need to
Mm,
boost up my stats to give me a little advantage in Leviathan.
yeah, me
Um,
too.
yeah, right. Yeah, I did beat you one of the two times we played in Gauntlet. Um, so James Bond asks, are megacities restricted to 2x2 and 3x3 formations? And I guess, is there a possibility that that gets changed? Maybe you have three in a row or some different kind of combination, or is it
For
just going to be that
right now, yes, but in the future, anything's possible.
anything's possible with an IIP, right? IIP can make something
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Yep.
All right, so we hit that hour mark. If you need to go, we can definitely wrap this up.
I'm struggling, to be honest. I've had about 4 hours sleep in the last 3 days or something. So
Yeah. All right. Well,
as
I mean,
much as
yeah, I
I
know
would
you.
usually say, let's just keep running, and I've yeah, I need to get to a bunch of other stuff before
Yeah.
launch, and so yeah.
Yeah. No, perfectly fine. So thanks for coming on. I know this is a crazy time. I can't wait for you know everything to get going in less than 48 hours from now. Um. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Almost 1,000 people watching. I think that's great. Um.
That's
Use
crazy. Where
use.
are they coming from?
It's a lot coming from X.
Hmm,
X just has a lot more. I have it's almost 900 people on X and then like 50 people on YouTube. But
crazy.
half of them are probably bots, anyways. But it makes me
Fair
sound good when
enough.
I say there's 943 people watching. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
roll
that's
with
insane.
it.
Good
But yeah,
stuff.
thank you, and
Awesome.
I will talk to you soon.
No worries. Thanks,
All
man.
right,
See you
have a
next
good one.
time.
Thanks.